So through graffiti, that was the first touch point with painting in general. So one thing you do while you're painting on the streets is you gotta be fast. That was always in my DNA. Same for adaptability. You have to adapt to any surface, whether it be a wall or a train or a bus. When I started doing works indoor, you can still find that sense of speed, that sense of adaptation or transformation. As humans, we see from the infrared to the ultraviolet. And then within that, we have to make use of it. Now, if I use all the way from the black to the white and all the use of the colors, then I'm making use of the whole dynamic range to the maximum.
What made this collaboration very special was to have an artist that has a very precise image of what he wants to do. That was crystal clear.
I care about speed. I've been trying to evoke that emotion in many of my artworks. So if I can print that onto the bike and make it faster conceptually, if it can look faster, if it can look even more technical, it adds a component of emotion. You look at the bike and it reminds you of everything that the bike can do, even if you're not even riding it. So that's what I'm trying to do here. First of all, Lucas sent me quite a bit of samples, meaning materials, types of paint, iridescent paint, flat paint, metallics, how those can be actually hand-painted. So once I understand all of that, I go on Illustrator and I know what type of materials, techniques can be touching other techniques. Then I created some patterns of my own and I try them and see how those complex patterns adapt on the shapes of the bike. And then I delivered like final renders, and then Lucas had to adapt all of it so they would meet both ends.
I set some clear boundaries of what technically is possible and what is not feasible, but we really extended those boundaries for this project. There were these moments where I was thinking, oh God, can we pull this off? Translating this design into a production-ready bike took almost 10 or 15 times that I usually need for a bike to finish. I think the most crazy part about this bike is the sheer amount of steps and paint layers we need to achieve this design. So we had to cover one part of the bike in the first step, then cover the other part of the bike for the second color, and so on and so on. So that was a mess. That made the project really challenging also in the paint coordination, basically.
On a scale 1 to 10, 10 is the hardest.
Well, we would say it's 12.
We had to find creative solutions to avoid double painting certain areas of the bikes to keep the layers of paint down to a minimum.
The crazy thing about it is it's all done by hand, right? It's manual labor that goes into this, and it's really, really complex to achieve this level of detailed design.
It was very intense to work with him, but it was also very, very joyful.
This bike couldn't have been done 10 years ago because some of the techniques we implemented, they were invented recently. All these decals and the vinyl cutter and these types of paint and how it was manufactured at the facility. So I look at it, it feels like an object that was released yesterday. So ultra contemporary.